What's going on, guys? Welcome to another Lifestyle of Eden podcast. I'm your host, Nick Tognietti. Today, we're going to talk about the difference between endometriosis and endometritis. Okay, so endometriosis, you guys have heard me talk about endometriosis quite at length. It's an autoimmune that's not necessarily classified fully as an autoimmune in the medical literature, but the medical literature is now expressing it as an autoimmune because it is the same nature of an autoimmune. I consider it an autoimmune. If you just look at the reality of what's going on, why the estrogen is building up and being over compensated in the body through excess aromatization and so forth, it's all immune driven. It's not estrogen driven. Estrogen is just the symptom of the drive of the autoimmune, of the inflammation from the excess immune system that's going on due to whatever it is, infection, cortisol, leaky gut, oxidative damage, whatever it is. But either way, it's like an autoimmune. I have multiple podcasts on this. I have many at length, in-depth Instagram carousel posts on this as well. Okay. Now, also in my university, Lifestyle of University, I have an entire class on endometriosis, given that it's over 1 in 10 women in the United States. It's a massive account of illness in the United States. Okay. And so, with that said, let's start with endometritis. Yeah, let's start with endometritis. I always discuss endometritis and endometriosis in a similar, okay, not the same, just similar relationship to diverticulitis and diverticulosis. Okay. So diverticulitis being like an acute infection. Hey, you right now have something lodged in these diverticuli within the intestines. Diverticulosis being the chronic lifestyle that made it possible to even have diverticulitis. You can't have litis, short-term acute, without losis, long-term chronic, okay? Because the long-term chronic is what creates the divots in your intestinal lining. And then the diverticulitis is what, because you have those divots, now food is able to get caught in there, or bacteria, streptococcus, staphylococcus, bacillus, all these different types of things. I compare them to that in the sense that one is more like chronic, like disease-ish, and then one is, hey, this is acute. We need some antibiotics. God forbid, I hate antibiotics, but it is what it is. Endometritis is like a short-term concept, very similar in pain and in the, hey, today I feel this way. Whereas endometriosis is the same thing. Hey, today I feel this way. We have the same symptoms. Oh, okay, but they're two different things, but that are similar. So endometritis is where you have excess inflammation within the endometrium. So like the endometrial cavity where, you're creating, there's estrogen creating endometrial tissue and endometrial lining, thickening of the uterine lining and so forth. You have chronic or you have a acute inflammation in there due to some form of an infection. This could be due to post-birth. It could be due to miscarriage. We could be talking bacterial. You could just have a bacterial infection, right? There's many different reasons for why you can have that. Like I said, abortion can do that, or even an invasive gynecological procedure. But either way, there somehow became an infection within your endometrial cavity, within your uterine lining. And now you start to get all of this pelvic pain, right? So your symptom, pelvic pain, abnormal vaginal bleeding or discharge, fever, tenderness of the uterus. So you start to get these really strong acute symptoms. This is endometritis. And for this, everybody knows I'm not a fan of antibiotics, but I say, look, for this, you need to get antibiotics. And there's also a procedure where they can go in and scrape out other bacteria that certain bacteria could be feeding on. But you could be scraping something out, but the reality is you still have a bacterial issue that you need antibiotics to kill. So you've also got to just recognize that there's probably certain risk factors that cause this. Not taking care of yourself vaginally very well. It could be inflammation within the body, poor lifestyle, not enough sleep, a heightened immune system, whatever it is. But endometritis is very acute. And generally, yes, you need the antibiotics up front, but then you need to work with a functional practitioner to prevent it from coming back. Because now, because of the antibiotics especially, I've got to work up your gut microbiome. I've got to work up your immune system. I've got to work up adrenal function and everything else, thyroid function. Because now not only can it come back, but now you're susceptible to other gut infections and to a lot more issues due to the antibiotics, including things like we have bacterial pathogens like E. coli, C. diff, salmonella, Shiga toxin, all from antibiotics, right? So I always recommend, hey, get a functional practitioner while you have this immediately after, and for a while to make sure that you get out of the weeds and to make sure this thing doesn't return. Endometriosis, as I've explained in great depth, which I won't go into crazy depth on this podcast because this podcast is not for you to learn all about endometriosis. I have other podcasts in the past that you can go listen to for that. But endometriosis is a chronic inflammatory disease. Like I said, it's even being classified now in many ways as an autoimmune disease, where you have systemic inflammation and excess drive of inflammatory cytokines that are causing an excessive overflow of aromatization, meaning you are converting testosterone and androstenedione into estrogens, E1 and E2, estrone and estradiol. And you are having way too much estrogen buildup within the body. And then also you are having detox pathway issues, whether it's type 1 liver, type 2 liver, or type 3 gut and kidneys. But either way, you're having a detox issue where this estrogen is not only being overflowingly created in the body, but now it doesn't have a way to kick out of the body to where it's building up in the body. And now you're starting to get missed periods. Now you're starting to get heavy periods. You're getting fertility disorders. You are getting pelvic pain. You are getting radical other immune flare-ups and thyroid disorders. You're having extreme sex drive issues. You're having for women, you could be getting breast cancer potentials. You could be getting breast tenderness. There's so many things that are going on with that, which obviously y'all have seen plenty of times. I've reversed endometriosis over and over again. So it's not something that can't be completely reversed, and 100% can, right? PCOS, endometriosis, like these are all diseases that can be fully reversed, like completely top to bottom. But it's a chronic disease, whereas endometritis is an acute disease. So the acute disease is going to need, yes, lifestyle intervention to prevent it from coming back, but it probably is going to need antibiotic implementation in the acute way to just knock this thing out, clear it up, and then work the case functionally to make sure that the lifestyle, the 7 pillars, my 7 pillars of lifestyle intervention, the 7 pillars of disease reversal prevention and longevity are implemented properly to prevent it from coming back and to restore the gut microbiome and all the collateral damage that the antibiotics did. But endometriosis, you've got to work that case top to bottom. And a lot of times you're dealing with fertility. You're probably dealing with potential PCOSs, thyroid disorders. You're definitely dealing with gut infections, and you're dealing with probably type 1 liver detox, methylation in type 2. You might even be dealing with kidney, but you're definitely dealing with type 3 detox issues with the gut. So there's multiple things that you're going to have to work when it comes to endometriosis. It's a much harder case to work with. But when people say endometritis, I'd just say, hey, listen, this is actually a good sign. It's not endometriosis. Let's go knock this out. Then let's prevent it from coming back. And then let's look at your lifestyle and see, hey, what could have caused this in the first place? So we make sure it doesn't happen again. So these are the real clear differences between endometriosis and endometritis. And if you've had things since you were a child, it's probably endometriosis. But if something just randomly comes on out of nowhere, especially after one of these situations, like God forbid, a miscarriage, an abortion, it could be some type of vaginal procedure. It could be some type of infection, but it's something acute. There was an action or a lifestyle event that happened, boom, and all of a sudden I got this. That's going to be like, oh, yeah, you know what? There's a real good chance this is not endometriosis. You probably have endometritis. And you can go to the doctor, get it clarified, and then go from there. But like I said, even working with your doctor, you still need to work with a functional practitioner like myself and a coach that can make sure this doesn't come back, figure out why it came in the first place, and how we can make sure we work this case efficiently. So anyway, I hope this brings clarity. We've been getting quite an influx of endometriosis, and then I do have some mentees and other people that have reached out to me about endometritis. And so it's something that I think needs to be addressed, clarified, and just to have peace on the matter and know that both of these issues can be fully resolved, reversed, and taken care of and prevented. Stay tuned for the next episode.